Damn, y'all already esoteric truths raw. Hey, baby. Y'all putting requests in quick. I ain't even get on here to get a chance to say nothing. Hey, princess. Peace and love. Raw Spiritual 999. What's good, fam? Thank you. Ty Kyer. If I didn't pronounce your name right, I apologize, baby. Must be something big. You know what it is, fam? I haven't been doing no lives for a minute. So I was like, I can put the phone down now. Peace, goddess. Hey. A couple people up tonight. Thank you, baby, because I was a TK Air. Thai Key Air. Okay. All right. Thank you. I know it's tearing your name up. I love the soup, baby. Thank you so much. It was delicious. Hey, the Spirit Plug. At 444 Anunnaki, but did you serve yourself first, though? All right, listen. The reason why I came on here tonight is because I wanted to have a conversation with you guys. I put a post up where I talked about how it's never you versus somebody else. It's always you versus you. And I talked about the reflections, right? How basically people that are around you are people that you may dislike is nothing more than just a simple reflection of self. Now, the thing that's really funny to me about this, when I was looking at some of these responses, people were saying, well, I don't see how that's the case because this person has this attribute, this attribute, this attribute. And so I could never see how that would even happen, how I could ever possibly be that way, this, that, and the third. Let me explain something to you guys. You guys always want to focus on the obvious. If that person showed you the worst of themselves, of course you're not going to have no dealings with that person, right? I'm going to need you guys to stop thinking linear, and I'm going to need you guys to stop thinking with a black and white mindset and understand that people are multidimensional. They have multidimensional aspects of themselves. And usually whenever you attract a person, whatever it is about them that attracted you to them in the first place, or enough for you to have them in your life, whether it's a friendship, whether it's boyfriend, sometimes even some of your family members, such as cousins and people in your family that you get really cool with as you grow up over a period of time. There's something about the experience, there's something about that person that resonates with you. Okay? It resonates, and it's totally subconscious. It's not conscious. That's what I wanted to share with you guys. It's never conscious. So you guys are sitting up here like, well, this person, this, that, and the third, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, nobody ever said that it was those attributes that you see about that person that's very obvious is the thing that attracted to you in the first place. It isn't that. It's something else about them that attracted you to them on a subconscious level. The problem I'm seeing here is that people don't want to deal with accountability. And it's easier to point the finger at somebody else whenever something's going on. You want to point the finger at this person and that person because they treated you like this and they treated you like that. But 9 times out of 10, here's the unspoken. The people aren't going to talk about how long they've allowed this to go on in their life, how long they've allowed the person to stay in their life. They don't ever want to talk about that. Because that means they would have to actually take some accountability for their own actions and for allowing themselves to go through those experiences. So they don't want to deal with that. Okay? So I just want to point that out to y'all. It always is going to be you versus you. You are the boogeyman that you've been looking for. You are the devil that you've been looking for. Okay? You are whatever you think about that person that's the worst, that's you. Remember, we're all a part of Source. And all we're doing is just reflecting off of one another. So instead of projecting, how about working on some of that self-healing? How about stop allowing things from your past to creep up on you and stop you from living your life, and then you blaming everybody else because you're too afraid to heal, or you're too afraid to confront yourself because you know you got some ugliness about you that you don't like and you don't want to confront that. So the number one thing that people have an issue with is accountability. And it's upsetting when you have to really take a hard look at yourself and what you've allowed to happen. Because then you have to sit back and you have to examine, why did you allow it to happen? Then you have to come to terms with the fact that you may have some low self-esteem. That's an attribute that nobody likes to deal with. You might have to look at all your weaknesses and all your uglies that you don't want to deal with. But how are you supposed to heal and get to the next level if you're not willing to confront yourself? People will spend more time and more energy and money and anything else that they can spend their time on focusing on somebody outside themselves and blaming somebody else for this and blaming somebody else for that. But here's a news flash. If you don't take the time out to heal yourself, you're just going to attract that same energy right back around to you. Some of y'all that have done this, that find yourselves going around the same circle over and over again, jumping from person to person to person, thinking that if you get around a new set of friends, everything's going to be okay. But the truth of the matter is you're attracting the same type of players. You're attracting the same type of people. You're attracting the same type of energy. That is emotional intelligence and self-healing. That is correct. You have to go deeper. See, this is one of the things that our community does not like to talk about. We don't like to talk about how screwed up our childhood was when we were growing up. We don't like to talk about that stuff. But yet we're still walking around here with a lot of mental health issues, right? Anger, unhealed trauma. And then what we do is we are the progenitors of that energy. And then it continues to keep recycling itself over and over and over and over and over again. And then the people who don't want to see you come up out of that, they're projecting. They're crabs in the barrel, right? Because they're not healed. They ain't looked at themselves. Now they're projecting and going out of their way because for some reason they have an issue with you. When the issue ain't about you. The issue's with themselves. That's why when people come out and say crazy stuff, I say to myself, you know what I say to a person? Or you know what I think? I say, damn, I feel really ashamed for that person right there. I feel sad for that person. Because I can clearly see the projections that they're leading out. They're really hurting. And it's not that I'm their issue. It's the fact that they got mama issues that they ain't never sat back and sat down and talked to their mama about because their mama wasn't there for them. So it's like, let me lash out at you because you have or you embody the mother energy. And because my mother wasn't there, I don't have that connection, I'm going to lash out at you every chance I get. When really the issue is you didn't receive enough love from your mama. And instead of you taking accountability for that and healing from that, you project. See, the end goal here when it comes to healing is you got to learn how to start putting yourself first. You have to learn how to set up the boundaries for yourself. When you start getting into self-healing and self-love and operating from the heart space, the same energy that you put out there to assist people, you better be taking that same energy for yourself first. And if you're not putting it toward yourself first, you need to sit down and examine why that is. And be honest with yourself about it. And yes, it's going to be work. And yes, you may not feel motivated. Yes, you're going to hate it. But if you get to the root of where these things are coming from, this is when you do what we call a shift. Because believe it or not, you have the ability to change how everything affects you in your outer world the moment that you go inside and you start working on the inner world. Because you're going to start attracting people that's on a different level. You see, when people are operating from a place of being in an unhealed state, that's all they're going to continue to attract to themselves. We're naturally magnetic beings. This is what's going to happen. It's natural, right? But when you begin to start tackling the deep, dark shadows of yourself and learn how to integrate that shadow with self, This is when you start to see that light at the end of the tunnel. This is when you're not seeing things with a skewed set of eyes. There is a difference between seeing things through a trauma set of eyes and a healed set of eyes. The perspectives aren't the same. You don't react to things the same way anymore. You don't approach things the same way anymore. The anger isn't built up in your body anymore like it used to be. You're able to see things from more of an objective point of view. The smartest thing that you can do in this time right now, while we're all given the opportunity to do so, is simply to focus on self. Thank you, Katrina. Yes, to be lighter and to gain wisdom. That is correct. All of your experiences that you had in your lifetime is the wisdom that you gained. Now the question is, what are you going to do with the wisdom? Because nothing worse than a person having wisdom and still not learning from some of their mistakes. They're not even utilizing the wisdom because they're not healing. That's still in the way. That's still in the way. And don't take on things that are not yours to take on. Only take on the things that you know that you're responsible for. Don't take on anything else extra. Because people do that too much too. See, we have this problem, and we think that if we're selfish with ourselves, which you have to be, that's a bad thing. But yet, for those of you who have given a lot of your energy out to people unnecessarily, be honest with yourself and ask yourself, where did that get you? And who was there to pick your pieces up off the floor whenever you was falling? Who was there for you when you didn't have any energy? Who was there for you when you had burnout? Were they there for you the exact same way you were there for them? And I just want you to be honest with yourself about it. Were they there for you the same way you were there for them? Setting up boundaries for yourself first and setting up boundaries for everybody else second is step one to self-care, and sticking to that. Because the worst thing you could ever do to yourself is betray yourself. And many of us have done that. We've betrayed ourselves. We made pacts and deals with ourselves and went against ourselves. And we didn't even honor our own contracts that we made with ourselves and for ourselves to do better. That's 90% of the reason why when people put out these so-called New Year resolutions, those are contracts, whether or not you realize this or not. Whenever you speak out loud and you say that I'm going to do this, that, and the third, but then here's what happens. You get distracted by outside forces. And next thing you know, those outside forces, you start putting those things in front of you. Sometimes it happens on a subconscious level. Then you get upset. Then you become resentful because you realize that you let yourself down. You really want to blame the person, right, for wasting your time. But no, actually what happened was you played yourself and you wasted your own time. That's the type of responsibility that I'm talking about. Nobody wants to look at themselves in the mirror and say, I did that. Because I knew that I made a commitment to myself to get these things done at this time. Yet I chose to entertain this extra energy out here that I know I shouldn't be entertaining. No is one of my favorite words. You tell your people no and see how they respond to you. You see how fast they flip the script on you when you tell them no. But I love seeing it. I love seeing them get all out of character. It tells me everything I need to know about the individual that I'm dealing with, no matter what level I'm operating on with them. I like that shit. No. Why are you telling me no? I know the self-entitlement crap. Right? You're blocked? Well, then what does that tell you? If you're blocked, what does that tell you? Listen, I'm going to share something with y'all. I've been doing a lot of, man, my healing work has been crazy. I created a program for myself, specifically for me, so I could bring myself back to center, get myself in complete balance, and shift over into my divine feminine, which is why you guys have been seeing these changes go on with me, because I'm not just talking about it. I'm actually really doing the work. I'm actually really living it. But I can't tell you how many times I've cried, how many times I've had sleepless nights, how many times I wanted to give up, how many times I think I did give up at one point and then came back around. And not because of anybody outside of me, because I'm strong enough and I had enough fortitude to understand that there's nothing anybody can do outside of me, you know, that I can't, that's going to affect me worse than me affecting myself. I never give anybody outside of me that kind of power. And y'all shouldn't either. For me, it was more so about dealing with self versus self. It was really that. And I'm gonna be honest with you. It kicked my butt. Okay, it kicked my butt. Y'all want to do some real shadow work? Sit down and have a conversation with your family members and tell them to tell, and your friends and the people that you care about that are 100 with you, and tell them to ask you how they really see you for real. And tell them that you're not going to interrupt, because you can't interrupt them. Tell them I'm not going to interrupt you, but I need you to be totally and completely and 100% honest. I guarantee you, some of y'all ain't about that life. I'm telling y'all right now, some of y'all are not about that life. You're not about that life. Okay? But you sit down and you have a conversation with them folks and let them come real with you about how they really see you and about what they really think. And then you start from there and start working on your shadow from there, if you can even make it past what they have to say to you. You got to get past that part first. And you're going to want to get pushback. You're going to want to give pushback. You're going to want to explain this. You're going to want to say this. You're going to want to interject. You're going to do all that. But you got to be quiet. And you got to take it. Listen, really drink the shrink. What'd you say? No, I'm not about that life. I can't trust and won't be projected energy. At Lily, you have to be able to discern, but at the same time, and see, that's just it. I was in that space. I was saying that too. Well, how do I know you ain't projecting? When you're truly honest with yourself, you're going to realize no one's projecting onto you. You're going to realize that they're telling you exactly how they really feel and exactly how they really see you. You want to say it's a projection because you don't want to hear it. You're going to want to say that. I was there, fam. But then when I sat back and I really thought about it, I was like, you know what? Yeah, that's kind of jacked. I did do this, that, and the third, or I was acting like this, or I do have these shortcomings, or, you know what I'm saying? Okay, so what do I do where do I go from here? Because the main issue here is people are always so worried about what other people outside of them think, right? You're always worried about what somebody else outside of you is going to think, okay? But that's your shit. That's you. When the real focus should be, I don't care what anybody else has to think. This is about my healing. Because we're all human beings and we're all progress. We're all making progress one day at a time. That's why I tell people you are imperfectly perfect. I feel like people know the kid, teenager me, not the healing me. So I feel like that would throw off my healing. Absolutely not. It won't. I can see why you would feel that way, but it won't. As long as you're being honest with yourself And that's the key thing. You got to be honest with yourself. And that's the one thing that people have a hard time doing, just being totally and completely honest with themselves. See, that's going to be the key thing. That's going to be really the true secret to your healing, is when you're honest with yourself. Because the people that love you are not going to tell you things to hurt you, but they're going to speak their truth. Now, let me tell you how this works in a two-way street. One, the mere fact that you gave them the opportunity and you made the space for them to speak their truth already begins the healing process between you and your loved ones, because you gave them the opportunity for them to speak their truth, even though you didn't like it. It opens up dialogue, right? But more importantly, it gives you the opportunity to put a gauge exactly where you are in your healing process and how much improvement that you need to do and how much improvement you need to work on if you're serious about healing yourself. You see, back in the day, our parents, those conversations were had amongst our family members when we were growing up as kids. Nobody had conversations about healing. Not in that way. Okay? We hear stories about our great-grandmothers and great-great-grandfathers and stuff, and beating on our grandmothers and stuff like that, and the grandmother still sticking with the husband anyway, knowing that she was being mistreated. Our ancestors dealt with stuff way worse than we ever had, and dealt with and endured way worse than we ever had to. But now we're in a space now where there's no excuse in it. Now we're in a space now where we can go and simply start doing research. Now we're in a space now where we're free to take accountability and responsibility. See, when you do those two things, something magical happens. You grow up. Instead of you feeling self-entitled, you'll become self-empowered. And there is a difference between the two. At Bootsy 267, she asked, what if they're hurting? They may be with the ish and say hurtful stuff intentionally. Let me ask you a question, Bootsy. How long you been dealing with these people where they felt that comfortable to talk to you like that in the first place? Answer that question. Because ain't no way in hell that you should have anybody in your life that you know disrespects you like that. So if they're saying mean and hurtful things to you, then my question to you is why did they feel that comfortable to do that? Now, if it's a one-offer and you just happen to be out somewhere and somebody flips out and says something crazy, okay, let's put things in its proper perspective here. Okay, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those individuals that have had, some long-term friendships, whatever ships you got going on. Ships, I call them ships. Relationships, situationships, friendships, whatever the hell it is. Okay? How long was this person in your life before you started seeing them act funny? How many red flags did you see with that individual before they actually started becoming disrespectful towards you? This shit just don't happen out the blue. There's always red flags. And more often than not, most people ignore red flags. Okay? Well, then, at Bootsy 267, if it's an older sister who just combative about her life and says wild stuff, I choose my peace, then fade her to black. Simple. You don't keep entertaining family. Listen, this shit goes for family members too now. Okay, this goes for family members too. Don't think that you gotta tolerate extra stuff just because they're your blood. Sometimes they could be the worst. The worst. Worse than any type of friendship you have. Your family can be the worst. I haven't done part 2 of AO and Boomin. I haven't even announced it yet. When I put it up on the gram and announce I'll be in YouTube, then you'll hear it. It's going to be sometime this month. How many times have you had issues with your family, crazy issues with your family, versus some of the people outside your bloodline? And let me tell you what that's about. That's ancestral karma that needs to be cleared up. That's generational curses that need to be removed within the bloodline. That's trauma that's instilled in the bloodline, continuing to repeat itself over and over and over and over again. And people have no idea how serious that is when you're talking about dealing with ancestral karma. That's a whole different ballgame right there. That's a whole different ballgame. And a lot of people are affected by ancestral karma and ancestral trauma. You see, I do this work and I help a lot of people heal from generational curses and trauma within the bloodline and help them clear that thing out for their entire bloodline that goes all the way back to the cosmos, baby. The stories and the things I've seen and witnessed and heard, helping different people with the things that they had to deal with. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff that people come to me with. Now, Michelle Renee says, I've tried to have a relationship with my sister since I was 7. She refuses to have a relationship with me. Don't know what I did. It hurt like hell, and I'm still dealing with it. Okay, let me tell you the first thing I pick up off that situation. Number one, you and your sister have a karmic relationship. I did a live on YouTube last year called Karmic Children. Okay? But there's also karmic family members. Okay? And so when I go in to investigate to see, especially whenever they're telling me that things like that are happening at such a young age, 9 times out of 10, it's karma. So then when I go in to investigate to see what happened, I'm able to go back into your past lives and say, okay, well, let me tell you what happened. This is what you did. You did this, and this. And then you don't even realize you're still living in that karmic cycle in this current lifetime because you didn't clear it up in the previous lifetime. So you're still living out those attributes of that cycle, and you're still repeating that cycle over and over again, and she's not at peace. So then I go in, I clear out the energy of that karma between the two of y'all because it's past life. Can't do nothing about the current karma of the day. That's only for you to do. But when it comes to past life karma, I can clear that out energetic wise for you. But at the same time, you're still going to have to do some shadow work on that. All right? My mom has adverse energy and she has a way to hurt people's feelings. How many times have you allowed that to happen, Golden Empress 2020? How many times have you allowed that to happen? See, y'all, I hear what y'all saying about your experiences, and nobody's negating your experiences. Okay? You are valid in your truth and in the experience that you've had. However, at some point, you have to say to yourself, okay, what role am I playing in this interaction right now? Because I'm co-creating with this individual right now with all this bull crap that's coming around. So you're playing a role with that. You're co-creating this. Because if you don't have enough common sense to step away from the situation, then you're co-creating with that person the outcome that you're experiencing. And if you continue to keep having the same outcome, that means that there's a lesson that you're not learning. Now, the question is, what is it that you're not learning? Coco Rush, I have a program called Ancestral Elevation. That session is between 3 to 4 hours, sometimes 5, depending on the person's bloodline. And that's when you actually begin to find out exactly what the hell happened. You will find out what happened during that process. Now, what happens is when I go and do the ancestral elevation for that individual, and that person's bloodline on both the mother and the mother and the father side becomes elevated, even the ones that are in purgatory, even those ancestors too, when they become elevated, then they turn around and they come behind you and they elevate you because you elevated them first. The ancestral elevation is a very powerful program that I think that a lot of our people could benefit from, because we are living out a lot of generational curses because of us being prisoners of war. They love to use the word slavery, but we weren't slaves. We were prisoners of war, and there's a difference. Okay? I was told that I have alien DNA by a gypsy psychic in Wales, London. How much should I look into that? Well, it's true. All of us do. When I say ancestors, let me be clear about what I mean when I say ancestors. I think you guys are only talking about the human beings. No, I'm actually talking about not only the human beings, but I'm also talking about the ones that are also connected to the ETs. You have ETs in your bloodline. Okay? You have gods in your bloodline. This is the reason why I said to you that these ancestors go all the way back to the cosmos. Ding, 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 ding. Okay? That's number one. Number two, you are extraterrestrial self anyway. Humanity, humans are extraterrestrial. The Most High told me that we are extraterrestrial. I never looked at it that way, but that's what we are. You guys got to understand what we are. We look at everything else outside of us and say, ooh, and I, and E, and that's this, and that's that, because they look different. And we knew, and you got to understand that we live in a world full of differences, and we live in a world where we're prejudiced against those differences, because that's how we were taught, and that's how we were taught to think. That's how we were raised to think, because we grew up learning these things. We didn't grow up with the mindset of unity, consciousness, and love. No matter how different a person looks to us, we never grew up with that. There were spells that were casted over everybody. Okay, everybody. You had certain groups of people that had spells casted over them to make them think that they were more superior than others. You had the gods, which are us, who was running this thing from the very, very beginning, that fell from grace due to our own arrogance. And when I speak like this, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to have that conversation. Everybody wants to have an issue with it again, because nobody wants to look at accountability. Always remember this one thing. There is a such thing called cause and effect. When you start understanding the universal laws and how they work, and how the powers that be apply those universal laws against us on a 24/7 regular basis, once you begin to start learning that chess game, then it's game over for everybody. And it has a lot to do with you understanding who self is first. So you're a universal divine being that has all different types of bloodline within you. And you have many different aspects, meaning different reincarnated versions of who you are, that you can tap into and learn things about yourself. You have, and some of you have angelic courts or councils. Some of you have Syrian councils. Some of you guys have Arcturian councils. Whoever's in your bloodline, that is who you have access to right now. Now, I do a cosmic reading. I'm the one who does the cosmic readings on sharpiceswisdom.com, where I tell you what star systems you come from and what type of beings that you are and why you're actually here and what it is that you're supposed to do. Sometimes your aspects may come and speak to me and talk to me about some things. Your aspects will pull up on me in the middle of a reading. I'm like, okay, so why is such and such back here? And what you're going to find out, and one of the things I found out, guys, is going to shock you, is that a lot of the gods of mythology, they're still around. And a lot of you are in human form. And those beings are your higher selves. And this is what they've always known about you and what they've always known about us. They already knew that we were the gods. But if they can make you think outside of yourself and make you think that you're powerless, you can never access the true power that comes from within. The true power always comes from within. It never comes from without. And that's where y'all got the game twisted at. Stop externalizing your power and you'll realize you've always had it. But the more you keep giving your power away, the more you're going to feel powerless because you keep giving it away. The more you give your energy away, the more you're going to feel like you don't have any energy. You see how that works? Frequency 13 said, I see a lot of negative attachments on people and they speak through others. So a lot of the times when people are saying the negative things, I see as not even them, but the negative influence. But that's true. At the same time, let me put this out there. That negative influence would never be there if they weren't open and receptive to it for it to attach itself to begin with. Remember that. When you're a being that's operating on the highest frequency, and you tell yourself, I'm going to put myself in the highest timeline possible or available, and you don't attach yourself to experiences that made you feel a certain type of way that brings your vibrational frequency down, there's nothing that a negative energy or entity can do to you to have that any kind of effect on you in that way. See, there's several things that play here. One, spiritual hygiene. A lot of y'all don't know nothing about that. A lot of y'all are just coming into this knowledge and understanding. But you must be on point with your spiritual hygiene. What do you mean by that, Isis? That means that you need to be doing your spiritual baths on a regular basis. That's what I mean by that. It means that you got to get back and return yourself back to the earth and start learning about the traditions of your ancestors instead of being afraid of it. You out here spooked out by your own damn self. Oh my God, I'm scared of the voodoo. Oh my God. And that's within you. I'm scared of Orishas. Oh my God. That's within you. And these are the guys of your bloodline for some of y'all. And you guys sitting up here running around here scared. I want you guys to understand you are children of God. So if you're a child of the gods, that makes you a God. If you are a child of the Most High, that makes you a God or goddess. Ding, ding, ding. And it's starting to hit a little bit different now. How the hell you going to call yourself a child of the Most High but not know that you're a God? Let it sit there for a moment. Because you probably never even thought about it that way. Because what they did was they separated you from the Creator by telling you that you need to have an intercessor to talk to the Creator. And that's just simply not true. You don't need no intercessor to talk to nothing. You just start talking. Period. And you talk to learn, to do for self, not to ask for favors. That's going to come to you. But do the work yourself. Now, if you need guidance, ask for guidance. Ask your ancestors for guidance. But you have to do the work yourself. Don't have this savior syndrome mentality out here because you can be sitting around stagnant like so many of our ancestors that got caught up in religion, waiting for somebody to come and save them, and that dude didn't show up. And he still ain't gonna show up. And let me point something else to you that you guys don't critically think about, that you guys never thought about. This is the reason why I started coming out and I started dropping the science about mother. I want you to critically think about something for a moment. How is it that we grew up in a society, and this is all over the world really, but let me just focus on here. Okay, let's deal with the problems we have here. I'm not going to focus every place else. I'm going to focus on here. How is it that some kind of way we got brainwashed into thinking that only the Most High was Father, without any acknowledgement of the mother? How did that happen? How in the world did that even happen? Just like you didn't think about the fact when I said to you, if you're a child of the Most High, that means that you're a God too. You never thought about it that way. Now we're going to have a different discussion. How is it that both energies are not being acknowledged? None of you guys thought that was weird. There wasn't any critical thinking when everything shows you in nature that there is always a mother and a father. Always. Or there's a divine masculine energy and a divine feminine energy. Now let's look at it from an energetic perspective. Let's not even focus on anything else but the energy. Either way you look at it, you got one that's about action and one that's about receiving. When you begin to look at the energy. So now, For those of you that are caught up in that hype, thinking that, oh, the man is superior and this, that, and the third, nobody's superior to the other. There has to be mutual respect between the roles of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And if you have individuals that are focusing specifically on tearing down one specific energy, then the other, they are not operating in unity consciousness. They are not evolving. That is not something that you want to attach yourself to because they're under an illusion and a spell. You see, when you see things like that happening like that on a mass level, where you see these divides taking place, all those are black magic and spells that are being casted over humanity on a regular basis. And it puts people in the state of what we call illusion. Remember, everything is about perspective. And I said to you, there's a difference between seeing things through a healed set of eyes versus seeing things through a trauma set of eyes. Remember that. So it's all about perspective. Now, if you were healed, you can take yourself out of the rat race and you can see where both the sexes are going wrong at. When I hear people say, oh, I don't need this, actually, you do need, we do need each other. And the thing is that we always have because we're a part of the whole. You're not separate from the whole, fam. You're not separate from the collective consciousness. You're not separate from Source. Only thing that's happening here is that Source gave you your own individual space so you can have your own individual expression. But you don't make no mistake. At the end of the day, when everybody leaves from here, we're all returning back to Source. Period. From now on, when you go to reach out to the Most High and you say your prayers, you acknowledge both Mother and Father. And watch how things begin to start playing out in your life. Because things have been playing out in my life a whole different kind of way since acknowledging both energies. Because one is logical and the other one is heart space. One is masculine, the other one is divine feminine. And you need both. Because if you're operating out of one space, you're not going to be able to see things from a balanced perspective. You're only going to see it from one perspective only, and it does a disservice to you. When it comes to your elevation and growth, what you want to do is you want to learn how to balance out between the two. That is correct. You can't have one without the other to complete the balance, and that's key. Balance. Wholeness. You see, you want to come to a place where you accept every aspect of yourself, whether it's malevolent, benevolent, neutral. You want to come to a space where you're accepting every aspect of yourself. That's how you become whole. You don't become whole by running from the parts of yourself that are dark. You have to learn how to respect those parts of yourself and love those parts of yourself and understand that if it wasn't those parts of yourself that existed, you never would have been able to expand in consciousness. Every single time you have something that takes place where you're hurting, believe it or not, you're learning new things. That's expanding the consciousness. So the dark energy or the dark side must exist, which is why Source created the polarity. Understand the roles of what that is and don't be afraid of that. Embrace it. Balance it out. I tried suicide, it didn't work. My 3 kids just here holding me. Nobody gives a shit. That's why I'm done. But did you give a shit, though? About yourself? Because it starts with you first, baby. And only you. Nobody else outside of you. It only starts with you first. You know, I've had some clients when I was having some conversations with them. Some of the things that they told me about was that they were afraid, they felt that they didn't have a purpose. They didn't know what their purpose was, and they were so busy comparing themselves to everybody else. In some kind of way, they thought that everybody else that looked a certain particular way had their life together, and this person was sitting back and looking at themselves, trying to figure out why they weren't there where they should be, why they weren't there where they were, not realizing the amount of shit that the other person had to go through to get to where they are. I want to explain something to y'all. Don't ever get it twisted when you see people that you perceive to be quote unquote successful, whatever that means to you. Or it seems like they got themselves together a certain way, whatever that means to you. Because I guarantee you, if you sat down with that person and you asked them, how did you get here? They're going to tell you it was a long walk, a tumultuous walk. And I had to come to a place of not really caring whatever anybody thought about me. Do you understand what kind of, I want you guys to understand something. The things that come out and I speak about, how many people called me crazy, how many people made fun of me, how many people disrespected me, how many people thought I was cuckoo, all that stuff, right? It's kind of funny because now them same people, them same folk, I see all these changes going around and people screaming on planes and stuff like that and flipping out and spazzing out and all kinds of stuff like that. Them same people are coming back around now and asking me questions. Yeah, I remember when you said that, and I my bad for making fun of you. I just really thought you was crazy or something like that. But now I'm realizing you really weren't that crazy. You were just ahead of your time. Yes. Imagine working in the music business and having these types of conversations with people and not giving a damn. And folks looking at you like, Isaac, you crazy. But I would always talk to the artists and say to them, you have a much more conscious side to you than what I'm hearing through this music. So talk to me and tell me why you're not putting out this music, because this is the music that's going to touch the people. And they tell me, oh, because the labels won't let me do this, that, and the third. But I like your energy. It's really good energy. Would you stay with me in the studio? Because I really like your energy and you bring a certain kind of peace to me. I don't like doing this, but I'm under contract to be a slave, to be a puppet, to misrepresent themselves for money. Instead of them to just be feeling comfortable to be themselves. You have folks out here that will sell themselves down the drain for $1 because they didn't even give themselves any worth, any self-worth. Because in their eyes, they wanted to be a part of something that they didn't understand was actually low vibrational. Or maybe they just simply didn't care. But it was beneath them. There are people in this music business, in this music space right now that I know for a fact are gods and goddesses, and they've chosen to contract with things lesser than them. And they're going to pay a price for that for a long time, whatever the duration of that contract and how many lifetimes they got to go through that shit. Because they didn't value their soul. People will sell themselves out on all kinds of levels. It isn't just money. It isn't just music. People will sell themselves out for little to nothing because they don't value themselves. You know, a long time ago in my healing journey, I remember when I came to the self-discovery that I had dropped the ball on myself, that I really didn't value myself, and that I was really like hurting myself. Not like doing something to myself, like, harming myself in that way, but just not caring about myself like I should have. And I remember when I came to that self-realization, how hurt that I was of what I was doing to myself, not taking care of myself. It was hurtful to have to come to that realization. But I came out of that. And I'm in a very comfortable space. It's kind of like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon. It's a hard pill to swallow when you realize the ways you weren't living yourself, loving yourself. That is correct, baby. You're welcome, Shantae Dunigan. Dunigan. The Nubian Lifestyle says, unpopular opinion. Suicide is often a karmic clearing for things you couldn't do in this lifetime. Could you elaborate that a little bit more at the Nubian Lifestyle? I need you to explain this a little bit more to me so I can understand you better. Nah, I don't know what you're talking about. Frequency 13. You said, as I transmute energy through my pineal gland, it leaves a taste in my mouth. And I started doing spiritual hygiene to the mouth and also had to gargle water to clean the tonsils. I mean, everybody gargles water to clean their tonsils, but it sounds to me like you transmuted the energy. That's interesting. You transmuted the energy through the pineal gland. That's interesting, beloved. Mm-hmm. At Katarina Barbos 004, thank you. You know, one of the things that I wanted to say to you guys as well is that always remember a lot of us are here just to have an experience. That's what Source is about. That's all Source. That's really what Source is truly about. Source is truly about the experience. But I'm definitely going to start stepping out here and start doing tours. I've been getting asked to come and speak at different events and stuff like that. So I'm going to start stepping out there a little bit. Something I wasn't thinking about doing before, but it was like, yeah, they told me, yeah, it's about that time for you to get out there and start doing these lectures on the road. For some reason, I was like inspired to come on board and share this information with you guys. And I hope that you guys really enjoyed this conversation or this dialogue. And I hope that it's helped you guys. I was meditating the other day and it was like some light bodies was lining up in front of me and they was coming from the left of me. Interesting. Did you talk to them? Kes Cross says, what did you do in the music business? I started off as a writer. I wrote for several publications. Then I started my own magazine called Word on the Streets. After that, I got into music management and A&R. Then I got into, under the management side, I started getting into television and managing talents that were on television. And I retired in 2018. Someone said, manage me. Listen, I got a female artist and she's really dope. And she's been holding on to me off and on. She's like, you think you might come back? I'm like, mm-mm. But she still calls me from time to time and gets my advice. And anytime someone gives her a contract, I'm the first person she hits to take a look at the contract and see what they talking about. And I be looking at them contracts like, I don't know who the hell, I don't know what they doing, child, but this ain't it. You know, at Kes Cross, actually, there's another part to me that I didn't tell you about. I'm also a songwriter, and I'm also a producer. So I'm actually working on a 6-song EP that is going to, this is where you guys are going to hear me singing. I don't know if I'm going to do any rapping or not. This is more about activating the soul. So I'm currently working and writing some songs, and I'm planning on going into the studio, and I plan on putting some things together, this is something I've always wanted to do for myself, right? It's one thing to work with artists and all that stuff. Yeah, I know the routine with that, like the back of my hand. But this is really something I want to do for myself. It's really for me. It's just something I want to share with you guys, and I hope you guys really enjoy it. So yeah, I'm working on something right now. I want you guys to remember, man, listen, when I went through that process, there's so many different levels to healing, right? And I remember when I went through that process where I decided that I was going to call in all of my negative aspects in and integrate with myself and reconcile with those versions of myself. I remember feeling so calm internally. I feel so calm now. It's like I was hearing a lot of noise internally inside my body. Now I don't hear the noise. And what I found out was that my aspects were warring against each other. They were fighting amongst each other, the inner conflict. So some of you guys may have inner conflict that's going on inside your bodies, right? Where you're like, I know I'm supposed to be doing this, but for some reason I keep doing this shit over here. And I don't know why I keep doing with this over here. And 9 times out of 10, whatever you're doing is probably not for your greatest good, right? I'm going to tell you what that is. Your shadow. And you're not paying attention to that shadow. Or your shadow side, or those aspects of yourself that you don't like. You're not giving them the time and attention and energy that they need. You're not tapping into that inner child. So you're having those internal battles inside. Now, this is a really good question. That y'all names kill me. Y'all kill me with these names. I'm going to do the best I can, but just bear with me. He says, why when working on yourself for the betterment of your family starts to hate you? Because you're a direct reflection of what they're not. You're a reflection of what they should have been and what they could have been. And they're not. So you remind them of that and it hurts them. So they're projecting onto you. "919, you said definitely need to hear that. I have inner conflict. Thank you for sharing this. What are ways to heal that part of the shadow?" You need some guidance into that, but I would start off with just doing some shadow work. There's a book that I suggest you guys get called Momentum by Quinn Barber. Quinn is a really, really sweet girl, and I'm always recommend her book because she's got one of the dopest shadow work books I've seen for our people. I definitely want you to get that book. It's called Momentum by Quinn Barber, Quinn Barber, Barbour. Okay? You'll find the book on Amazon.com. Get the book. Okay? If y'all see, and let me tell y'all something about that book. Don't be hitting me back 30 days later talking about ISIS. Oh, yeah, I went through that book, right? In 30 days, I'm done. Ain't no way in the hell. I'm going to tell you straight up, ain't no way in the hell. Because it took me a year just to get out the anger section of the book. So I know you lying. What you're supposed to do is you're supposed to sit there and you're supposed to process those feelings. Okay? So don't come over here and tell me, yeah, I got the book and I did the exercise, I did everything I was supposed to be done in 30 days. I'm going to laugh at you because that's not real shadow work. You ain't truly processing your feelings the way that you're supposed to. And some of y'all be on that silly stuff too. Yeah, I did my shadow work. I'm good. Newsflash. Shadow work will be done for the rest of your life until you leave from here. Shadow work is what keeps the demons away. Because you're going to continue to have new experiences in your life. And you're going to grow and you're going to expand and you're going to learn. Sometimes you're going to cry. Sometimes you're going to laugh. You're going to be very happy. And there is a space that you can get to where you're at peace. You can actually get to that space. And Esther P, she says, do I know what it means when your Achilles is tender? Beloved, you might have something going on. You might need to go to the doctor and get that checked out, baby. The shadow work constituted as a ritual. That's very interesting. Because then I would have to understand your perspective of what a ritual is, right? Shadow work, you can do different types of rituals with shadow work. So let me give an example of something that I did in January. Always remember when you're working with the moons, the full moon period is a time for release. Okay? The new moon period is a time for bringing things in. So I did some mushrooms during the time of the full moon. Because I told you I created a program for myself. And in this particular situation, Mama Oshun was present for this particular ritual. And the crazy part about it was I didn't even realize it was a ritual as it was happening. I didn't even realize what was going on. That's how smooth the Orishas are. They're so smooth with it. You don't even realize what the hell going on. You know what I'm saying? You don't realize it until like later on. And you're like, wait a minute, this is a whole ritual. But they're smooth with it. And so for those of you that are actually in the Orisha pantheon, and I don't know if there's anybody on here that is, I know for me, I work with the Orisha in many different ways. So I work with them to help me assist in my healing process. And yes, I can hear them talking. And so they gathered around, and I remember my son saying, the Orisha are standing around the house, like here, over here, over here. And I said, wonder what that's about. And I remember saying all the week before that I got to do a ritual Oshun during the night of the full moon, but I didn't even know why I was saying that. So then when the full moon showed up, that's when it started, when I took the mushrooms, but I didn't realize it. And I had found out some information that blew my wig so far off. That shit shot out to the ocean some damn where. And I was releasing a lot during that time period when I did those mushrooms. Right? That was a ritual for my healing. So you could do rituals for healing, but the overall goal is shadow work, to deal with certain things, to process them. So yes, you can add rituals. In a sense, it could be ritualistic in a sense from that perspective. Yes. At Bambi0214, she says, I have repeated cycles in relationships. What are you not learning, beloved? Because it's definitely you. It definitely ain't them. What are you not learning? Macrodosing. Yes, it is a swab Puro 91. That is correct. Okay, it's McFree. You said my son is 10 and his friends have been telling him about spirits, ghosts at camp, and now he is spooked out every night. Can you tell me what I should tell him so I don't dismiss his fears, but also educate him? You got to let him know that whatever he's afraid of is an extension of himself. It's an extension of himself. And once he begins to accept those parts of himself, he won't be afraid of that anymore. And you got to tell him the truth in that way. And you have to explain to them, what do you mean an extension of myself? Those fears come from a place. Sit down and ask him, where does this fear come from? Because anything outside of you that causes you to be fearful. I'm going to say this again, because some of y'all don't get this. Anything that is outside of you that affects you in that way is a reflection of the darker side of who you are. And you meet that energy with love by simply saying, I realize this is an inner reflection of myself. And I love myself in all aspects. Operate with the heart space of love, and that whole fear shit will go right on out the window. That's when you're dealing with somebody in front of you, or dealing with something on a spiritual level. It's still a reflection of who you are. I can't even begin to tell you how many encounters with entities and if I told you some of the entities I've had encounters with, and at first it was battles. At first, until I came to an understanding that that entity was actually me, or as some type of extension of me. So once I started approaching it with love and saying, thank you for teaching me this, that, and the third, then it's like, well, damn, now you just, the whole gig is up now. I thought I had you. Many times I've had beings say, well, damn, I thought I had you. I thought, no, no, you don't have me. Because I understand what you are and understand what this is. You're just a reflection. I know what you are. And they literally will say, damn. Think about it like this. They're going to come and flip the script and roar and all this other stuff and do all these things in dream, right? You stand there looking at that fool like, and then they're confused. They doing this. I've had beings do this shit before, like, she's not scared. What the hell? This ain't working. We got to try a different approach. Okay, so let's go get such and such to go and approach her this time. We're going to have her this time. No, that didn't work either. You see, I need you guys to understand it's a big world out here, and not everybody's afraid of the boogeyman. I need you guys to remember this. Y'all learned that from TV and shit. Y'all learned that from movies and listening to music and seeing images and things like that, having you freaked out. That's where that came from. That's externalization. Y'all let some spook outside of you scare the crap out of you. Well, the truth of the matter is, we are some of the biggest and the baddest devils to ever exist. Okay? Y'all need to go read up on Kane from the Avengers. Okay? And that guy, what's his name? The actor, I can't think of his name. That actor. And he is the real Kane. I bullshit you not. He's the real Kane. I look right into his ass. That's Kane. That's why he plays the role so well, because he really is the villain. But he's also a villain that knows his purpose. You don't think that Marvel just made these characters out of thin air, did you? Where do you think they getting these characters? Where do you think Stan Lee got all these characters from? He got them from us. How do you think they got that? How do you think they got access to that information? They were channeling information to find out about our stories and find out about who we are. And they were getting that information from guys that were high enough to get access to that type of information, or with a high enough ranking to tap in. And they started getting the information about the people and finding out about their aspects and learning about their aspects, and come to find out, when you start realizing who they are, you start looking at their aspects, you start seeing the stories and all that. This is how the movies are made. Ain't nothing new under the sun, babies. When I say there's nothing new under the sun, there's literally nothing new under the sun. If you thought it, it's already been created. I'm going to see what y'all talking about. Now, there is something else I do want to have a discussion with you guys about. There's a couple things I want to have a discussion with you guys about before I get off this live. And I'm going to go into more depth about it. I may just focus on the live specifically on this on YouTube, but I'm going to talk about it here just so you guys get a little taste. The first thing I want to say is I looked into that young woman on the plane with that plane incident. And I saw a lot of the people that were getting caught up in ASL because people don't know what ASL is. Okay. And it is a language for those that have their hearing impaired. That's number one. American Sign Language, ASL. So the whole thing, when you saw her hand going down and all that, that's what you saw because she's partially deaf. That's number one. You guys, some of you guys took a narrative, you took pictures and you ran with it, which I don't know why we do this shit. Why we sit up there and come up with a narrative about situations and take it and run down the block in our ignorance. And it just never ceases to amaze me how that happens. Here's what I want to share with you guys. When I looked into that situation of that young lady, this young lady did really see something that happened to her. I mean, that really did see something on that plane, number one. Number two, somebody did a ritual on the plane prior to. That's what none of you people knew about. Somebody did a ritual on the plane prior to them getting on the plane. That ritual that was done on the plane unleashed some entities on the plane. Further, there was more than just her that saw that entity on the plane. That's the second thing I want to tell you all about. There was more than just her. There were several people that saw that entity on the plane. There's a guy that has a video out that said he saw the entity on the plane. He gave a complete breakdown about how their conversation went, how it was more telepathic than anything, the whole nine. She did see a shapeshifter entity. She did see that. She wasn't supposed to see it, but she seen it due to the rituals that were done on the plane. I am trying to make you guys understand that we are under spiritual warfare here. And there are people out here that made fun of that girl and said that girl was lying, made fun of that girl, made it sound like, let me explain something to y'all. Here's a prediction for you, and I want you to listen to me very carefully. That right there is going to continue because they're doing rituals on the planes. Some of you people are going to see some things on the plane while you're traveling. Keep your head on a swivel and keep your protection game up, because this could cause potential major plane accidents in the air. And I do see a lot of plane accidents in the air taking place. Keep your head on a swivel for several reasons. That going on, people seeing the veil as is, the veil lifted is really thin, so people seeing things are seeing the unseen. The sun is opening up portals in the sky. Portals are opening up in the sky. And planes are flying through these portals. They're telling you that the pilots, they're showing on pilots, let me tell you what's going on. They don't want to take their butts in the air to fly the plane because they saw the portals open before their eyes and they're spooked and they don't know what to do about it. So they refuse to fly. That's why they have the so-called shortage. That's the reason why you see the planes flying lower than usual, because of the portals in the skies. The sun is doing that. Or I should say the suns are doing that. Someone said, why the rituals? If you're at war, why not? Why not? I think you guys are trying to rationalize evil. There's no rationalizing evil. Evil is evil. War is war. Underhanded tactics are underhanded tactics. I think that people need to come out of cognitive dissonance and come to a self-realization that you are not in Kansas anymore. You are in a different reality now. And because their time is up with the way these suns are showing up in the sky, they know their time is up. They know what's going on in that sky. They know what's about to pull up on this planet soon. They know this already. If you know who you are, and I mean really know who you are, and in order for that to happen, you got to heal. But if you know who you are, you'll realize that this is your time to rejoice. Not a time for you to be afraid of anything. But you can't say that you're a god, or you can't say that you're a goddess, or any other being that you claim to be, and then operating out of fear. Your DNA is activating right now, even as we speak. Some of you have higher selves that are gods that are integrating with your body right now, even as we speak. You know, the massive headaches and stuff that y'all been saying you've been feeling like over in here, and sometimes you'll feel it up here. Sometimes you'll feel it back here. That is wisdom that's being installed into your mind. And you are integrating with that God being, whomever you are. They knew all of this was coming. So now what they're doing is they're sending out energetic scouts to look at, in particular, indigenous women, because we are very powerful. And if certain energy activates within us, they're snatching those women up. They're snatching those kids up. And they're snatching the men up. That's why I tell y'all, stop putting stuff out there about when you have, like, there's people out here now that are showing their telekinesis abilities like crazy right now. And they don't even realize their ass is on the list with the military, even as we speak. And they're rounding folks up left and right quietly all throughout the United States. Knocking on folks' doors. It's time for you to go with us. You're going to a camp. Folks always want to show what they got going on. See, look what I got. See, I got this skill set. See, but you're not realizing where you are. And you're not being smart and calculating about your moves. They understand that when these kids get totally activated, there's no stopping them. They showed you that in the movie Thor: Love and Thunder when I talked about that a while back and the video went viral. Someone took a clip of that scene when I was talking about you get a kid that's fully activated in his power and there's no stopping him. That's not a joke. Now, as far as us is concerned, because we're being activated by the sun, along with the integration that's taking place, now this other junk DNA is activating, and people are starting to come online, there's no stopping us. They know this already. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to round up the opposition. Get you the contract so you can go to work for them. Because they don't want that smoke. Childlike energy most certainly is the closest thing to Godhood. Absolutely. Because your childlike energy gives you the ability to access your power. What is your power? Your imagination. If you guys only understood how your imagination plays a role in your power, your imagination plays a role in your power. If you truly understand what I'm saying, then you understand there's nothing that can stop you but just your own limited thoughts and your own limited ways of thinking. You're doing it to yourself. Like somebody said, well, they made me do this, that, and the third back in 2020 and 2021 and 2022. No, they didn't. Making you do something is when someone holds a gun up to your head and says, if you don't do this, that, and the third, we're going to blow your brains out. None of that happened. You didn't believe in yourself to know that you could have made a different choice because you gave power to something outside of you. I'm going to keep telling you all this. I'm going to keep stressing it. Stop giving power stop giving power to something outside of you. That's how you get yourself jacked up every single time. And every single person that participated in those activities from 2020 to 2023, they gave power to something outside of themselves. And now they're paying the price for that. And you can't tell them nothing. Some of them are still in their ego. Some of them are still trying to plead their case, but they know what they did to themselves, and nobody wants to deal with what they did to themselves out of fear. What I want to say to you guys is that you're going to be seeing more and more things get weird. This radiation coming down on this planet is going to be hard on a lot of people. I'm going to say to you that the simplest thing you can do at this point is make sure that your body is as light as possible. Eat as light as possible. The reason why we're telling you to stay away from the meat is because it creates what you call dense energy. Dense energy will be in direct opposition to this radiation and the sun's solar flares. That energy has to travel through. And what happens is if that energy is not able to travel through your body like it needs to, your body will implode from the inside. You'll start having problems, severe problems within your body. Like your body will literally start breaking down. Go back and listen to my 2023 predictions. Go back and listen to my 2023 premonitions. Go back and listen to those videos. I talked about this. I talked about how we were going to see the veil unlifted. I talked about how we're going to see other realms in the sky. Exactly. Increase the light body. That is correct. At Tasha to infinity, I cannot think for you. You have to go by what you feel on the inside, beloved. What do you feel on the inside? And that's going to be your answer. Now I want to say something else to you, and I'm going to say this to you one more time. It's kind of crazy to me that our people give out so much power to what we consider to be weather modification, when the true weather modification that's taking place are those two suns that are in the sky, the solar flares that are coming, the radiation that's coming on this planet, the geostorms that's on this planet, the plasma that's on this planet. You guys got to stop giving so much power to something outside of yourself and thinking that man is so much greater. The mere fact that some of you guys actually thought that humanity could create a sun without blowing themselves up is beyond me at this point. Beyond me. And a lot of you guys fell for that. Oh, that's that fake sun. They told you that so you wouldn't realize that there were actually two suns in the sky. I thought you guys would have recognized the game by now. But y'all still ain't getting it. Y'all still giving power to something outside of yourself. Y'all still giving power outside of Mother Nature. When the truth of the matter is, that CERN facility and where it sits at, if God decided to open up her mouth, she could swallow that whole facility and it'd be a wrap. Did you ever think about it from that perspective? Oh, they got these heart machines. But if God decided to open up her mouth and swallow those heart machines that are on this earth, then what? Then what? There's nothing more powerful than Mother Nature. I'm going to say this again. There's nothing more powerful than Mother Nature. There's nothing more powerful than the planet that you live on. The problem is y'all don't respect the planet that you live on. You don't respect your home. You don't take care of your home. So now she got to show her ass out here and clean house. And mama's calling in all kinds of forces in. Just like they talking about, oh, we're going to block out the sun. Yes, and 2 more suns are about to show up. Y'all think it's hot on this planet now. This is nothing. Y'all feel that sun nemesis on your body. It burns you. That's what Nemesis does. He burns you. He purifies. He gets rid of what's not natural to the planet. Now you have a second sun in the sky. And the blue Kachina, the blue sun, that's another sun, a water-based sun. So actually you got 3 suns now. Sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't. Depending on your vibrational frequency determines if you have the ability to see these things or not. So for those of you that sit up here and complain and say, oh, well, I don't see it, I don't this, I don't that, you're probably operating on a total different frequency. As I said once before, the higher you vibrate, the more you see God. And I'm going to share something else with y'all before I get off this live, and I want you to listen to me very carefully. Heed what I'm telling y'all. As this great divide is happening, this old world is going to fall away. And as the old world is falling away, there are going to be a lot of people that's going to be on this old world, but they're not going to see the new world. It's going to be something like, you know how you heard about those islands, those 14,000 islands that popped up out of nowhere in Japan? How nobody saw them islands and all of a sudden now they can see the islands? It's going to be like that. For those of you who went to see Black Panther and how Wakanda was hidden from the masses, how you couldn't see anything, it's going to be like that. One half is going to be in a total different reality of a world that they're living in. That's a parallel Earth. The other half are going to be exactly where they are right now and dealing with everything that comes with that. Okay? Yes, it is. They showed it on Wonder Woman also. Yes, it is already happening. Thank you, beloved. All right, babies. I had a good time speaking with you guys tonight. So I'm going to get off this phone because it's late. It's crazy. More people than jumped on here. Let me see who asked to speak on here. Let's see who's on here. I just want to see who's on here. Wow, a lot of you guys requested to come on here and speak. That's crazy. Wow. All right, guys. I thank you very much. I love y'all and peace out.